Hi, everybody. So, the movie that I chose to review is called Frankie and Alice, which is actually inspired by a true story. To summarize the movie, Frankie, the main character, is an exotic dancer, and one night after a few drinks, she decides to go home with one of the male bartenders. Before the two can engage in any sexual activity, Frankie unconsciously switches to a different personality and becomes aggressive, hitting the man in the head. Word of what happened traveled to her workplace, and she ended up being fired. She also lost a couple of friends due to that incident. Things like this happened at least two more times, and she ended up being arrested. She was going to be prosecuted and sent to jail, but they told her that she could avoid going to jail if she admitted herself to a clinic to get treatment. Frankie didn't think anything was wrong with her, but she didn't want to go to jail, so she decided that she would go to a clinic and get admitted. She started psychotherapy with her doctor, and during a session, Frankie learned that she has two additional personalities, one called Genius and one called Alice. Through the sessions, she began to recall traumatic events that happened when she was younger, and she also watched tape sessions of herself in which she was able to see the two additional personalities and how they would act. The therapy helped her put everything together, and you can see Frankie towards the end of the movie healing and taking control of her life again. Does Frankie meet the criteria for DID? I believe she does. Symptoms for DID include the existence of two or more distinct identities, ongoing gaps in memory about everyday events, personal information, and/or past traumatic events. The symptoms cause significant distress or problems in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. I believe Frankie fits all of this. She does have two additional personalities, like I mentioned before. One co-genius, who is a child, a 7-year-old child, and Alice, who is an older woman with a southern accent, and she's white, kind of racist too. She also has gaps in her memory, especially from when the other two personalities come to surface. She's not able to remember anything that happened or that she said during that time. She's also not able to remember traumatic events that happened when she was younger. All of her symptoms disrupt her daily life. Like I mentioned before, she lost her job because of it, and she really needed that job because she was tight on money. And then she's also kind of lonely because her friends and coworkers don't really understand what's going on with her. So they think she's a little bit crazy, so she's pretty alone. Was the idea represented accurately in this movie? I'll say yes. This movie does a very good job at depicting the DID accurately. DID is associated with overwhelming experiences, traumatic events, and/or abuse that occur during childhood. Through her sessions with her doctor, Frankie was able to recall traumatic events that led to her split in personality. She remembered that when she was a teenager, she was in love with a white man who died in a car accident while they were running away. She was also able to remember that she was pregnant with a child of that man, and that when she gave birth, her mom realized that the child was half white and half black, and she took it away from Frankie. Now, Frankie was later told that the baby was dead, but Frankie clearly remembers the baby being alive. So, all of these traumatic events that she repressed for a really long time can be attributed to the cause of her DID. Would I recommend this movie to other people? I would definitely recommend it. I think this movie does a really good job in representing DID. One thing that I really like is that it also shows you briefly kind of like what stigma towards DID looks like, which I think it's good so that people know, okay, that's not how we shouldn't react to DID. But it also educates them, and I think that's very important. So even if a person watching does not have a lot of like psychology background, they would still be able to understand and learn from the movie.